Animal shelter. So this is another interesting question that asked in the famous company's interview process. So you might take this question as a small project over here. So the problem statement says that an animal shelter which holds only dogs and cats operates on a strictly first in first out basis. People must adopt either the oldest based on the arrival time of all animals at the shelter, or they can select whether they will prefer a dog or cat, and they will receive the oldest animal of that type. So here they cannot select which specific animals they would like. So we need to create a data structure that maintains this system. So we need to implement operations such as enqueue, dequeueAny, dequeueDog, and dequeueCat. So as you can see from here that if the data structure is first in and first out basis, so this means that we have to create a queue over here. So in this case, we are going to create a data structure of queue, and here we are going to implement dequeueAny, dequeueDog, and dequeueCat methods over here. Now let's look at how this is working. Now in this case, we have an animal shelter like this. So here, the oldest animals based on the arrival times are located on the right, and the newest animals based on the arrival time are located on the left. So if I call enqueue method for this queue over here, for this animal shelter over here, for example, if I enqueue dog, the dog will be entered to this cell over here, which is next available cell. So in this case, a new dog will be inserted to this cell over here. Now if I call enqueue method one more time for cats, so in this case, a new cat will be inserted to this queue over here. So as you can see, when a new animal arrives to this animal shelter over here, we are inserting them as a newest cell over here on the left side of the queue. So this means that we are inserting them at the end of queue. Now in this case, we have to implement enqueue, dequeueAny, dequeueDog, and dequeueCat method for this case. Now whenever we are calling dequeueAny method, in this case, it's going to return the oldest animal in the shelter based on the arrival time. So the first animal that come to our shelter will come out first. So in this case, you can see from this shelter that the first animal here is dog. So if we call in this case dequeueAny method, the dog will come out from here. Now, if I call, for example, dequeueDog one more time, for example, another customer come and says that she or he wants a dog. So in this case, you see that the oldest animal is cat, but this customer wants the dog. So that's why we are going to call dequeueDog. Now, when we are calling the dequeueDog, the next oldest dog in our queue will come out. So if you look from here, you see that the next animal is cat. Then after the cat, we have a dog over here. So this dog will come out in this case over here. Now, if I call dequeueCat method, now the oldest cat in our animal shelter is this one, so this cat will come out in this case. Now this is how dequeueAny, dequeueDog, and dequeueCat method will work. So in this case, when we are calling dequeueAny method, the oldest animal based on the arrival time in the shelter will come out. It doesn't matter dog or cat. Then whenever we are calling dequeueDog method, the oldest dog based on the arrival time will come out, and when we are calling dequeueCat, the oldest cat based on the arrival time will come out. So this is how the logic should work in this question over here. Now, based on this logic, we are going to implement our solution in practice. So let's head over to Java to implement the solution for this animal shelter problem in practice. So here, the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to create a class for animals. Then we are going to create a separate class for cats and separate class for dogs over here. Now, I'm going to create a new file, which will be called animal.java. Now, inside this file, I'm going to create our animal class. So the class will be public abstract class animal. So the reason that I'm putting abstract over here, because we are going to extend this class using dog class and cat class over here. Now the first variable that I'm going to create over here is order variable, in which we are going to save the order of animals when we are enqueuing the animal to the shelter. So based on this order, we will identify that which animal is the older than the another one based on their arrival time. The less order number means that this animal comes to the first to this shelter, so it should come out from the shelter first. So I'm going to create this variable like this, private int order. Then the next variable that I'm going to create is going to be name of the animal. So it's going to be like this, protected string name. Then I'm going to create a constructor over here, public animal, which will take as a parameter the name of animal. So it's going to be like this, string n. And here we are going to set this n to this name over here. So when we are creating an animal, we have to provide name to this animal over here. Now the next method that I'm going to create over here will be the name method. So in this case, when we are calling name method, it has to return the name of the animal over here. So this method also will be extended by the dog and cats class. So that's why I'm going to create this one as abstract. So it's going to return type of string, and method will be like this. So we are going to write the body of this method in the dog and cats class over here. Now then I'm going to continue to create the next method. So the next method will be to set the order of the animal. So this method will not return anything. We're just going to name it set order. So it will take as a parameter integer or, and what we are going to do in this method is we are going to update this order over here. So based on the parameter, we are going to receive the order from user, and we are going to update this order property over here. Now the next method that I'm going to create over here, if we are setting order, we have to have a method to get order in this case. So in this case, I'm going to create public int get order. So it's going to return the order of animal. So we know that it's going to return the order property from here. So we are going to put order. Now then the main method in this animal class is we are going to create is older than method. So based on this method, we can identify that which animal is older, and based on that, we can dequeue the element from the animal shelter. Now we said that if the order is less, so this means that this animal is older based on the arrival time. So we have to return that animal from here. So I'm going to write it like this. So this method will return Boolean. So I'm going to name the method is older than. So as a parameter, it's going to take animal. Let's put it A, and we are going to return this dot order is less than a get order. In this case, it's going to return true. So if our animal is older than this animal parameter that we are giving over here, in this case, it's going to return true. So here you need to take into account that if the order is less, so this means that this animal is less than the animal that we are providing over here. So with this method, we can easily identify if this animal is older than any given animal or not. Now with this, we have completed our animal class. So basically we have created property of order and name of animal over here. Then we are setting the name from this parameter. Then we have created set order, get order, in which we are setting the order and getting the order of the animal. Then we have created a method in which we can identify that if this animal is older than the given animal or not. Now with this, we have completed this animal class over here. The next class that I'm going to create, I'm going to create cat class. So it's going to be like this. I'm going to create a new file over here, cat.java. So here I'm going to declare our class like this, public class cat. So as I mentioned before, it's going to extend animal class. So I'm going to put it like this, extend animal. Then here inside constructor, we are going to get the name from the user as a parameter and setting the name that we have created over here inside this animal class over here. So I'm going to write our constructor like this, public cat. So as a parameter, it's going to take string, which is the name, and we are going to update the name of this cat over here. So it's going to be super.n. So with this, we are setting the n in this animal class over here. So it's going to set to this name of animal over here. Then the next method that we are going to create over here, as you remember, when we are creating animal class, we have created a method name over here, and we haven't write body of this method because we are going to write the body of this method in these classes over here. So I'm going to do it like this, public string name. So here we are going to return cat name. So in this case, I'm going to put it like this, cat to identify it plus name. So whenever we are calling the name, if this cat is going to return cat and cat's name, if this dog is going to return dog and dog's name. So similarly for dogs, we are going to create similar type of class. So that's why I'm going to copy this code from here, and I'm going to create a new class which will be dog.java. And I'm going to pass this code from here and changing it for dogs over here. So here, instead of name of cat, we are going to put dog, and it's going to extend animal class. So here also we are going to put dog because this is the constructor for this class over here, dog class. Then we have to change this part also. We have to return dog in this case. So in this case, it's going to return dog plus name. Now with this, we have completed creation of the main classes that needs for us. Now, after creating these classes over here, we are going to implement it inside real queue. So we are going to create a new class over here, which we'll call animal queue. So I'm going to name this file animal queue, and inside this file, we are going to create our queue class. Now here, I'm going to create queue based on the linked list. So that's why the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to import linked list from Java util library. So linked list, and then I'm going to declare our class over here like this, class animal queue. Then we need to create two linked lists for dogs and cats over here, because we are going to insert dogs to the dogs linked list and cats to the cats linked list. And the type of this linked list over here will be for dogs the type of dog, and for cats the type of cat over here. So first I'm going to declare linked list like this. Linked list will be the type of dog, so I'm going to name it dogs, and we are going to initialize it linked list with the type of dog like this. So I'm just going to copy this code from here and create the cats linked list for cats. So in this case it's going to be cat, and the name of the linked list will be cats, and we are going to initialize it with cat. Now after doing so, the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to set the order to 0, because in this case we don't have any cat or dog in our animal shelter, so initially the order should be 0. So it's going to be like this, 0. Now then we are going to implement enqueue method. So we know that when we are enqueuing the method, it has to insert one of this linked list over here. So if we are enqueuing dog, it's going to insert this linked list. If we are enqueuing cat, it's going to insert to the cat's linked list. So here I'm going to declare enqueue method like this. So enqueue, so we know that our enqueue method will not return any parameters, so the name of method will be enqueue, and as a parameter it's going to take animal. So animal is the class that we created over here. Now here inside this class, the first thing that we are going to do, we have to set an order for this animal. So as you remember, in animal class we have created set order. So we are going to set order of this animal in enqueue method. So initially, as we said, the order is 0. So I'm going to set it like this: a set order to the order property. So initially it's 0. Then we are going to increase it. Now after setting it, it's obvious that we have to increase the order, because in this case the 0th animal is inserted over here. So the next animal should be located at the order of 1. So that's why I'm going to increase order by 1. Then we are going to check that if this animal is dog, we are going to add it to dogs linked list over here. If this animal is cat, we are going to add it to cats linked list over here. So we are going to check if a is instance of dog. This means that we have to add it to the dogs linked list. So in this case I'm going to do it like this: add last. So in linked list that we are importing from the Java utility library, we have add last, so which is adding this element to the end of linked list. So here I'm going to do it like this: add last type of dog, and we are going to put a. Else, if this is instance of cat, in this case we are going to insert it to the cats linked list. So a instance of cat, so in this case it's going to be inserted to cats, add last. Now with this we have successfully implemented enqueue method. So if we are inserting a cat, we are inserting it to the cats linked list. If we are inserting a dog, we are inserting it to the dogs linked list over here. Now the next method that I'm going to implement over here is I'm going to implement size method. So based on this linked list that we have created over here for dogs and cats, we can identify the size of this queue over here. So I'm going to create our size class like this: public int size. So it's going to return the type of integer. So here, based on this dogs and cats linked list, we can identify the size of this queue over here. So I'm going to put it like this: dogs.size plus cats.size. So if we sum up these two linked list size together, we can easily get the size of queue over here, because our queue is consist of two linked lists over here. Now after creating the size method of this queue over here, the next method that I'm going to create the queue dogs method. So in this case it's going to be like this: the queue dogs. So we know that when we are dequeuing dog, it has to return dog. So I'm going to declare it with the return type of dog, and I'm going to name it dequeue dogs. Then we know that we are keeping the dogs in this dogs linked list over here. So we are going to use the poll function of dogs linked list over here. Now in Java, poll function works the way that it's going to remove the first element from this linked list, and it's returning that element to the console. So in this case, if I put something like this, return dogs.poll, in this case it's going to remove first element from this linked list, and it's going to return that element to us. So the reason that we are using poll function over here is, so if you look at this enqueue method over here, you see that whenever we are adding new animal to the shelter, we are adding it to end of this linked list over here, add last and add last over here. So whenever dequeue the elements from this linked list over here, we have to remove the first element, because in this case our method should work the way that the first element that comes in should come out the first. That's why we are going to call poll function of this linked list that we have imported over here. Now with this we have successfully implemented the queue dogs method. So the next method that I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more method for dogs, which will be pick dogs. So we know that in case of queue, whenever we are picking element, it's just returning the first element in the queue and it's not removing that element from the queue. So here I'm going to declare the pick dogs method like this. So it's going to be like this, public dog. So this one also will return dog, and if we're going to name it pick dogs, and in this case also we are going to use the pick method of this linked list over here. So it's going to be like this, return dogs.pick. So with this we have successfully implemented pick dogs method over here also. Now the same methods will be implemented for the cats over here, so that's why these methods are similar. So I'm just going to copy these methods from here and pass it over here for the cats. So I'm just going to change them to cats. So the dequeue method of the cat will return cat. So the name of the method should be cat, and in this case it's going to pull out elements from the cats linked list. So pick method also will be the same, so it's going to be cat. So the name of method will be pick cats. So in this case it's going to pick elements from cats linked list over here. So you can see that these two methods for cats are similar with the dogs methods. So in case of dog we are returning the elements from the dogs linked list over here. In case of cat we are returning the elements from the cats linked list over here. So with this we have completed the queue dogs and the queue cats methods, and additionally we have implemented pick cats and pick dogs over here. Now the next method that we are going to create over here is the queueAny. Now we know that when we are calling the queueAny method, in this case it's going to return the oldest animal based on the arrival time from the queue. So it's not going to check the type of animal, it's just going to return the animal that come to the animal shelter first. It's going to come out first in this case. Now in this case I'm going to declare our method like this. So in this case the method will return type of animal, and I'm going to name it the queueAny. Now here the first condition that I'm going to check, if we don't have any dog in our shelter, in this case we are going to dequeue the element from the cats linked list. Otherwise, if we don't have cat in our shelter, in this case we are going to dequeue the elements from the dogs. So I'm going to write if condition like this, if dogs.size is equal to 0. In this case it means that we don't have any dog in our animal shelter, so I'm going to return dequeue cats. So I'm going to call this dequeue cats method that we created over here. So I'm just going to call this method because in this case we don't have any dog in our shelter. Now similarly we are going to check that else if the size of the cats is 0. In this case it doesn't make sense to go to the linked list of the cats over here, so that's why I'm going to call the dequeue dogs method in this case. So I'm going to put return dequeue dog. So this is our first condition. Now after this condition, if we have dogs and cats in our animal shelter, so in this case we have to check the older animal based on the arrival time. So here I'm going to take the first animal from the dogs linked list and first animal from the cats linked list. Then we are going to compare them, which one is older, we are going to return that animal. So here I'm going to create a dog in which we will have dogs.pick. So we know that pick method returns the first element from the linked list that we created over here. So in the first element we have a dog which arrived first to this animal shelter over here. Now similarly we are going to create a new cat and we are going to get the first cat from the animal shelter over here. So it's going to be called for cats.pick. Now we know that pick method just return the first element from the linked list, so it's not deleting any element from linked list. So here we are getting first cat from the cats linked list and first dog from the dogs linked list. Then we are going to compare these two animals, which one is older. We are going to remove that one from the animal shelter and we are going to return that one. So in this case I'm going to put if condition like this. If dog is older than cat that we are getting over here, in this case if the dog is older we are going to return dog. So we need to call dogs.poll method from the linked list. So in this case it's going to remove the dog from the dogs linked list and it's going to return it to us. And otherwise this means that cat is older than the dog, so in this case we are going to return cat. So we are going to put it cats.poll in this case. So with this we have successfully implemented the queueAny method in this case. So basically what we are doing over here is we are checking that if we don't have any dog, we are returning from cats. If we don't have any cat, we are returning from dogs. Then if we have both animals in our animal shelters, then in this case we are taking the first arrived cat and first arrived dog and we are comparing their order, and the one that came earlier we are going to return that one and remove that one from the animal shelter in this case. Now with this we have successfully completed the queueAny method in this case. Now we can implement another method over here, which will be the pick method for this animal shelter over here. Now we know that pick method will return the first animal from this queue without checking the animal type. So in this case, we can write pick method for this queue over here. Now we know that pick method is similar with the DQAny method, but in this case, in case of DQAny method, it is removing the element from the animal shelter, but in case of pick method, we are not going to remove any animal from the animal shelter over here. So I'm going to create our pick animal method over here. So I'm going to name it pick. So this method will return animal. So the name of method will be pick. So here again, we are going to check that if we don't have any dog, we are going to return the first cat from the cats linked list. If we don't have any cat, we are going to return the first dog from the dogs linked list. So the condition will be like this. If dogs.size is equal to 0, in this case, we are going to call pick method of the cat. So we are going to put it return cats.pick. Otherwise, we are going to check that else if cats.size is equal to 0, in this case, we are going to return dogs.pick. Now, after doing so, we are going to do the same operation that we did over here. We are going to take first dog and first cat and check that which one is older. So the one that's older, that we are going to return that one. So I'm just going to copy this code from here and paste it over here. So here, the only thing that we are going to change, we are going to put, instead of poll over here, we are going to put pick for both cases, because in this case, we are not removing any element from the queue over here. We are just returning the first element in our queue in this case. Now with this, we have completed this method also. So we have implemented pick method for this animal queue over here. Now here you see that we have successfully implemented all methods in animal queue over here. Now we are going to check that how this is working in practice. So inside main class, I'm going to create an instance of animal queue class. Then I'm going to dequeue some cats and dogs to this queue over here. Then I'm going to check the DQAny, dequeue dog and dequeue cats methods over here. So because our main objective was to create DQAny, dequeue dogs and dequeue cats methods over here. So I'm going to create an instance of animal queue. So it's going to be animals. Now after creating, I'm going to enqueue some cat and dogs to these animals over here. So it's going to be like this. Animals enqueue. So it's going to be new cat, for example. So I need to name the cat's name. So let's put it Kiki. So I'm just going to copy it from here and paste it several times. So first I'm inserting cat, then I'm going to insert another cat, for example, name it Harry. So then I'm going to insert dog, so let's name it Benry. Then I'm going to insert one more cat over here, which will be the, for example, let's name it Reki. So then at the end I'm going to insert one more dog over here, which will be the name of, for example, Dexter. Now after inserting these cats and dogs over here, I'm going to call one by one DQAny, dequeue dog and dequeue cat methods over here. So I'm going to put this output inside print function to print them to the console. So it's going to be like this. For example, animals.DQAny. In this case, we need to return the name of animal, so that's why I'm going to put it over here. Now we know that the first animal that comes to our shelter is the cat, which name is Kiki. So if I run DQAny method first, it's going to return Kiki in this case. So if I run our code, so we have an error over here, so we need to check it from God to dog. So I just mistakenly put it over here, God. So I'm just going to rerun our code. So we have another error over here, which is dequeue dogs. So in this case, I have forgotten to put the parentheses over here. So if I run our code one more time, now you see that DQAny method returns cat, which name is Kiki. Now if I call one more time dequeue method, in this case it's going to return one more time cat, which is Carrie, because the next animal that come to our shelter was Carrie. So as you can see, first it's returning Kiki, then it's returning Carrie over here. Now instead of DQAny, if I call dequeue dogs over here, you'll see that instead of Carrie as a second animal, it's going to return Beji. So if I run it, so you see that it's returning Beji. So Beji is the dog that comes to our shelter first. So if we want to dequeue the dogs, in this case, it's going to return this dog over here, which name is Beji. So if I call after this one, dequeue cat, in this case, you will see that it's going to return Carrie, because the next cat in our shelter is Carrie. So if I run our method, you see that in this case, it's returning Carrie at the end. Now with this, we have come to the end of this lecture. So in this lecture, we have implemented a queue for animal shelter, so in which we are implementing the DQAny method, dequeue cats and dequeue dogs methods. Based on these methods, we are returning cat, dog, or any animal that comes to our shelter first. So with this, we have come to the end of this lecture. So hopefully everything is clear about this question over here. So see you in the next lecture.